Hello to my wonderful Griffin artists, or should I say, ho, ho, ho. It's Christmas season, and Christmas season in art is so much fun. And we are going to do some really fun projects so that you can have some special gifts to give your family or things to decorate your house that you can have for years to come. Does anybody know what this flower is called? It's a flower that you see a lot around Christmas time. You'll see them at people's houses, in the grocery store. People decorate with them, and you'll see them at church around this time of Advent. And this plant begins with a P, and its name is a poinsettia. And I thought that we would have fun today talking about the poinsettia and drawing our very own poinsettia project because there's a special meaning behind the poinsettia plant. And I'm going to tell you what it is right now. There is an old Mexican legend about poinsettias and Christmas and how they come together. There was once a poor Mexican girl named Pepita who had no present to give the baby Jesus at Christmas Eve services. As Pepita walked to the chapel, sadly, her cousin Pedro tried to cheer her up. "Pepita," he said, "I'm sure that even the smallest gift given by someone who loves him will make Jesus happy." Pepita didn't know what she could give, so she picked a small handful of weeds from the roadside and made them into a small bouquet. She felt embarrassed because she could only give this small present to Jesus. As she walked through the chapel to the altar, she remembered what Pedro had said. She began to feel better, knelt down, and put the bouquet at the bottom of the nativity scene. Suddenly, the bouquet of weeds burst into bright red flowers, and everyone who saw them were sure that they had seen a miracle. From that day on, the bright flowers were known as the flowers of the Holy Night. The shape of the poinsettia flower and leaves are sometimes thought as symbols of the Star of Bethlehem, which led the wise men to Jesus. Can you see that? I definitely can. It definitely has a star shape. And the red colored leaves are supposed to symbolize Jesus's blood. I love this story because sometimes when you're a kid, and I can remember this feeling when I was a kid, you'd think to yourself, I want to give a gift, but what can I get that's special? And really, the most important gift that we can give others and our family and our parents at Christmas time is our love. And so when we're motivated by love, like Pepita is, no gift is too small. Because when you have love behind it, it's the most important gift of all. So I thought it would be neat for us to learn about this legend and to make our own poinsettia drawings to give our families with great love. So this is a real poinsettia plant, and this is the drawing of the poinsettia plant that we are going to do. And we are going to do this step by step. First, we're going to draw the flower together, then the leaves, and then you're going to paint it, and then you're going to bring it into school. We're also going to make separately the pot that the poinsettia is in. And you're going to bring those two things back to school, and I am going to cut them out for you and put them on paper, and I'm going to sort of make a frame for them so that you can have a special keepsake of the poinsettia. And you can give it to your mom and dad as a present, or you can have it in your house as a decoration or give it to a grandparent. But I love the meaning behind this poinsettia plant, and I think we can remember that story when we give this gift. So let's begin to draw our poinsettia plant. And what we're going to need is you're going to need your paints. Remember your wonderful paints. And you're going to need your good piece of watercolor paper, which you should have brought home from school. You're going to need a pencil, a Sharpie, or a black crayon would be fine if you can't find a Sharpie, a little cup of water for your paints. Okay, so your paint and your paintbrush, a little thing of water. I think it's also very wise to have some paper towels close by to dab so your paint is not too watery. And we're going to start with our pencil, and when we're happy with what we've drawn, we're going to go over it with our Sharpie. Okay, so let's begin. What we're going to do is, now in terms of your paper, you should have one full sheet of paper and then a half sheet of paper there. And we're going to start with our full sheet. On the half sheet, we're going to do the pot. On the full sheet, we're going to do the flower. So the flower, I know, looks very complicated, but it's not when you break it down. That's just a great lesson in life, right? Masterpieces are created one thing at a time. So we look at something like that and we can, sometimes my students say, wow, I can't do that. But you definitely can. We're going to do it together. And in the end, you have a masterpiece. And that's sort of like life, right? Life is one big masterpiece. And we're just each day painting a little bit and a little bit more of this, of our lives. Okay, so in the center of our paper, we're going to make little tiny circles of different sizes. Let me show you first, and we're going to make 10, and they're going to be, I want you to sort of take your hand and let's see. This is going to be about the size of our flower if you spread your hand out on the page, maybe a little bit bigger because your hands are smaller than mine. So we're going to go into the center of the page and we are going to make a few. Do you see how small that circle is compared to my page? That's going to be the center of our flower. And if you can see on our poinsettia plant, they have these little center, little tiny kind of round circles. Okay, and that's what we're creating here. And as you see, I did them in different sizes. So, but they're all small. So I have one, I'm going to do maybe a smaller one right next to it. They're going to be clustered, which means all together. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you see I did these little, I'm sorry about the, there's a little bit of a shadow here. Let me see if I can fix that. Let's see, is that better? Yeah, that's better, okay. I'm sorry about those shadows. So as you see, I've made these 10 little circles, okay? And that is going to be the center of our poinsettia plant. Now from here, we are going to go on one side of the poinsettia cluster and then on the other. And then from there, we're going to make lines that go out like this. And then they're going to come up. This sort of looks like a kite almost. And then we're going to go and make a line out on the right side. And then we're going to make a line out on the left side. And then from here, we're going to do that same kite shape that we did before. And if you even have to turn your page, you can turn your page too. And remember, pause me. So now we have one petal up straight and then two to the side. Then we're going to go out the side here and do our kind of kite shape out here to the sides. We're making sort of that kite shape. Because from there, now we're going to go in between these shapes. So these are our main petals here. And we're even going to go up and we're going to draw a line like this to show those creases in the middle of the petals. Let me show you our plant. Let's go back and look at our plant. See, they sort of have these lines that go up the middle. And as you see here, it's like the Star of Bethlehem, and it has many layers to it. And our poinsettia is going to have many layers to it. So from here, we've got these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 main petals. And then this is fun. We're going to now go in and we are going to draw petals in between these little, in between these petals. So watch what I do. I'm going to go up into a point and then down. Turn my page. Up into a point and then down. Turn your page. It doesn't have to be perfect. You're just going in and you're filling in between those petals. And then you're going to do your lines on those too. Okay. So now we have these petals, and then we have the outside petals. And we are now going to go in and fill, and now we're going to go in and fill in between the other. We're making more petals. Just going to go and do that shape. It's like a point. We're just going to go in. Let's see, how is that? We need some over here. So we've sort of done 3 layers of petals. Whoa, sorry. That's making me dizzy. Okay. So we have those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, those main petals. Then we went in and we did another layer in between, and then we did another layer on top of that. Now we're going to go in and do the green, these really pretty green leaves, and we're going to just do 2 of those out to the side. So you can really do them anywhere you want, but I think I'm going to pick over here, and we're basically doing what we did before with that sort of tear shape. I'm going to put a line down the middle, and I'm going to do my leaf with these lines that curve in to make that leaf. So that is going to show that this leaf is different than the petals, and we're going to show that by our lines that make the leaf, and also we're going to color it green so that it's obvious that it's a leaf. So I did 1 on that side, and I think I'm going to go and do 1 on this side. And it helps to turn your page. So I'm going to do up and back, my line down, and then these lines so that we can tell that that is the leaf, because there's a lot going on in our poinsettia. So now here we have our poinsettia, and I'm happy with my lines. So now I'm going to go in with a Sharpie, and the reason why we use the Sharpie or the crayon, I know I say this a lot, is that when we go in to paint it, we don't want the Sharpie bleeding or running, and a crayon won't bleed or run either. Okay, so we're going to first go in, and we're going to go over our lines of those little circles or little berries or little balls in the middle. Okay, so now we're going to go up and go over all of our lines. I'm going to start with my petals. I'm going to start with my big petals first. And if you notice the petals, the 5 petals that we did right at the beginning, the main petals, they have a little bit of a different shape to them. Their edges are not curved like our other petals. And it just makes a neat effect because they really stand out as the first petals here. You can see how that very much resembles a star. And like they were saying in the legend, the star that led the wise men to baby Jesus. Now I'm going to go in and do the other petals that are going off of that. Going through my lines. Okay. And I'm going to go through. And now I'm going to do my leaf. And all my little lines there. Now also, if you have a black colored pencil, that might work as well. I don't think that would run. So now I'm just going through and I'm doing all of my petals. And now I'm going to end with my leaf. Here we go. All right, so now I have my poinsettia. It's all outlined. And now I'm going to go in and I'm going to erase my pencil marks. Because when I go over my pencil mark, it's not exact. Sometimes it's not exactly right on top of the pencil. So I like to go in and then I like to erase that so you can't see those. Okay, so we have our poinsettia flower. And then we're going to go in and really make this come to life with our colors. But before we do that, I want you to take the other piece of paper that was in your supplies, and that is a half size of the watercolor paper, okay? And what we're going to do is now we're going to make the pot. So set your poinsettia picture aside and take out that other piece of paper. Now this paper is smaller because I want to make sure that the size of the pot is the right size. So you only need half. And now we're going to make a pot. And it's actually quite simple. What we're going to do is we are going to, and the pot's going to be sort of the size of your hand or a little bit bigger. We are going to make a long, flat oval shape. Okay, just like this. It's a long, flat oval. And then from there, we're going to go down just a little bit, and we are going to make a line that's going to be the edge of our pot. Okay? Kind of round those lines out. And then from there, we're going to go in a little bit, and we are going to make a line that comes down, that curves down a little bit, okay? It's a little bit on a slant. And then the bottom. So you can see here, we have our lip, and then we have these lines coming down, and that's our little pot. So again, the round, flattish oval, because that's showing us that the pot is open. And then we have the little lip there, the little edge of the pot. I call that the lip. Got this opening here. And then remember, our lines are coming in a little bit, okay? If you've probably seen a pot, maybe your mom or dad has them at the house. So there's our pot. Now, what I did on this pot to show that it's sort of curved is I went in and I did these little sort of shapes like that, just to kind of show that the pot is curved. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. Very, very lightly. And that, one of the elements of art is line, and that is using line to show some depth in what you're making. Okay, so that's our pot. So now we're gonna set our pot aside, okay? And we're gonna go back to our poinsettia. And now we have the fun of painting it. So I'm taking out my colors. And I'm going to start with the center. And I am going to get a little bit of water on my brush, and I'm going to take my yellow, and I'm going to go into that center, and I'm going to paint the center part yellow, okay? And I'm going to dab it a little bit with my paper towel because I feel like I had a little bit too much on there. Now I'm going to go in, and poinsettia leaves, they're bright red. Remember, they're bright, bright red. And this red here, you know, the more water you add to it, the lighter it's going to look. So you want to use a lot of paint and not that much water to get that really bright red. So here, see, if you go in and you use that really bright red, if you use a little bit more water, you'll see it's going to be lighter, which is also okay. That's totally fine. And you can go in. Now remember, don't paint your leaves red. Those are going to be green. And it's easy when you start to get painting that you sometimes paint the leaves red by mistake. So we're just painting the petals right now. So we're going to go through and paint our petals all red. We're doing that together right now, but I'm not being very careful to not paint my leaves because I need those to be green. And we're watching our poinsettia come to life with all its color. It's going to be so pretty. I think you're going to be really happy with how it looks. At Christmas time, at Mater Dei, we like to create projects for you to have, hopefully for a long time. And it's always nice to have something that you created, a decoration that you made. It makes it even more special. Okay, so I'm working on my leaves here. And once I learned the story behind the poinsettia plant, I don't think I'll ever look at them the same again. They are so much more special now. Before, to me, it was just another little thing that you saw at Christmas time, but now I look at it and I think about the gifts that we can give each other, the most important gifts, and what we can give back to God. There's a priest by the name of Father John Ensler that you might know, or your parents might know, and he has a little saying that I just love. And he says, today is God's gift to us. What we do with our day is our gift back to God. So I'll say that again. Today is a gift from God. What we do with it is our gift back to God. So every morning, it's like God's handing us a gift of the day, of being with our friends and being with our family. And what we do with it is our gift back to God. So what could you do during your day that would be a gift back to God? Well, luckily, what God wants is for us to be kind and loving. He's not asking us for a Ferrari, thank goodness. He just wants us to be loving, and that is your gift back to God. Okay, so now we're going to go in and we're going to color these leaves. And what I think looks really nice is if we use 2 different greens on the leaves. It gives it just a little bit of depth. As you can see here, these leaves are multicolored. They're not just flat. So, well, some are dark green, as you can see. Some have even a little bit of red in them. But I am going to go up. And so I took the darker green from our palette. It's almost like a bluish green. And I'm going to paint certain parts. See how we made those little sections of the leaf? I'm just going to paint little sections, that darker green. And then I'm going to go in with my lighter green and do color the other parts lighter green. Okay, so I did that with my darker green, and now I'm going to go in with my lighter green. I love this bright, happy green color. And I'm going to paint the other sections green. And if they kind of like bleed into each other, that is fine. I actually like the way that looks. That's a neat aspect of watercolor, that it kind of blends in together and looks really good. Okay, so here we go. Now I moved quickly, I know. So just pause and say, hold your horses, Mrs. Hugh, and just pause the video and go in and finish your painting. And so when you're ready, then unpause. But I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna put it aside, and I'm gonna make sure that my name is on everything. Okay, make sure that your name is on everything, because I have to have your name on this piece and also on your flower piece. And I want you to bring them back into school, because I'm going to cut them out for you, and I'm going to put them on a piece of paper, a thicker piece of paper, and make it kind of bring it all together, put it all together for you. Okay, so now I'm doing my terracotta pot. Terracotta is like this reddish brown pot, and I'm just going to go in very easy, and I'm going to color my pot. Now, what if somebody in your family, because this happens in my family, moved your paints and you couldn't find them, and it was like panic, where are my paints? And if you can't find them anywhere, you can certainly do this with marker or crayon. It's okay. We don't want to panic. We don't want to create any stress in art. This is supposed to be very enjoyable and fun. So don't panic if you can't find your paints. Look for them, but I'd rather you go ahead and do the project than wait, because we don't have that many weeks together in art before Christmas break. So I want to make sure that we have something for you to take home special. Okay, there's my terracotta pot. There's my pot. So you'll have two things to bring back into school. Your flower with your name on the sheet, okay? And your terracotta pot that it will go in. Then I will cut both pieces out, and I'm going to put them on a piece of paper, a special piece of thicker paper, okay? And then give them back to you. All right? Fantastic. And remember, now we know the legend of the poinsettia plant, and we think about that Mexican legend of Pepita, and how the greatest gift we can give is our love. You know, people always say it's the thought that counts, right? So if our thoughts are full of good things and love, the presents that is the greatest gift of all. All right. Okay, Griffins, happy Advent time. And our next video, we're going to create a Christmas reindeer.